WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. With over 350 restaurants to choose from, Bloomington, Indiana is truly a food lover's paradise. Go to visitbloomington.com to discover what suits your taste.
This is WFYI News Now. It's February 9th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, lawmakers want to protect children from social media. Healthcare advocates are worried about new requirements for Medicaid members. The state prepares to overhaul graduation requirements, and an annual forum for young people in Indianapolis is this Saturday.
I hope just the pure image of seeing over 30 young people, mostly Black, just seeing the pure leadership that's on display and seeing how, they're not waiting on adults anymore to change things.
Those stories coming up. But first, Lawrence Township's middle and high schools are using new metal detection systems. Eric Weddle reports the initiative builds on the district's procedures that began years back.
Thousands of Lawrence Township students are now passing through metal detectors on their way to school every day. It's part of the district's latest effort to boost school security. Students and staff walk through the metal detectors at the entrance of each building. Students are required to pull out or lift their laptops above their heads to avoid setting off the detector. The roughly $350,000 initiative builds upon random searches and the use of state-provided metal detection wands. School officials hope this latest technology will act as a deterrent to a school shooting. I'm Eric Weddle.
Indiana lawmakers are beginning to explore ways to better protect children who use social media. Brandon Smith reports legislation got an initial hearing this session but won't advance further as its author says he's getting the conversation started.
Senator Spencer Deary says the challenge is finding a way to protect kids from the harms of social media that's both effective and constitutional.
You need to give parents more control over some of the more harmful elements of social media.
Some of the proposals in Deary's bill require social media providers to get written consent from a parent or guardian before creating an account for anyone under 18, give parents and guardians more control over features on their child's account, including how long they can access it, and limit direct messages that can be sent to a child. But Edward Long from the right-leaning James Madison Institute says the focus shouldn't be on prohibition, but on education for both parents and kids.
Put simply, there is no age restriction to the First Amendment.
Deary says he hopes to move legislation next session. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
Medicaid members on certain plans will be required to pay premiums and power account contributions starting July 1st. Advocates continue to raise concerns about the effect this could have on maintaining coverage for Hoosiers. Abigail Ruman reports the Family and Social Services Administration is beginning an outreach effort to inform Medicaid members of the change.
Cost sharing was temporarily paused during the continuous coverage period where members couldn't be disenrolled due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Payment requirements are set to resume as part of the state's return to normal plan for Medicaid. Advocates were hoping to prevent their return, saying premiums cause confusion and get in the way of maintaining coverage. David Craig is a professor at IUPUI who researches the challenges Medicaid members face. He says power accounts create a barrier where people have to prove they are worthy of care.
If you don't make that payment, well, then you're going to have a lesser kind of coverage, which can feel like a form of disciplining people.
Craig says this part of Indiana Medicaid is difficult for people to navigate and can lead to more expensive care in the long run. FSSA says it will work with stakeholders to make sure members are aware of the return of cost sharing. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
The state is preparing to overhaul graduation requirements in an effort to better prepare students before they enter the workforce. Kirsten Adair reports the State Board of Education received guidance this week before the rulemaking period for the new diploma requirements begins on March 27th.
At its monthly meeting Wednesday, the board listened to an analysis from the National Center on Education and the Economy, a nonprofit that focuses on education research. Representatives from the group shared data on important worker skills and assessment results that show U.S. students struggle to apply the skills they learn in school when they enter the workforce. The NCEE says Indiana should prepare students to use in-demand skills and look into implementing more conversational assessments. Indiana Secretary of Education Katie Jenner says high school graduation requirements will look different from every other state's once they are revised.
It's like we're peeling back an onion that education has been the same in our country for over 100 years.
She says that for the sake of Indiana students, the state can't waste any more time on making these changes. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Kirsten Adair.
And for our final story today, young people from Indianapolis will host a conference to talk with adults about pressing youth issues. True Dialogue 8 is an annual forum made up of 30 young people ages 12 to 24. They invite lawmakers, teachers, and principals to the 3-hour conference to share their concerns and create solutions together. This is Lakaya Berry's second year participating in True Dialogue. She wants adult attendees to understand young people want to create a better future for themselves and are ready to take initiative now.
I hope just the pure image of seeing over 30 young people, mostly Black, just seeing the pure leadership that's on display and seeing how, they're not waiting on adults anymore to change things. They're ready to organize with each other.
Some of the topics that will be covered are violence in the community and youth mental health. The conference is this Saturday at the Faye Picard Glick Neighborhood Center. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by the following people who live in your community: Darian Benson, Drew Daudelin, Kendall Antron, who composed the music for this podcast, and me, Abriana Herron. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Monday.